population.
And as it was in Germany, so it was in the United States. The workers threw down their tools and left their tasks by the millions. All labor ceased work. The strike had tied everything up so that nobody could work.
The women proved to be the strongest promoters of the strike. They set their faces against the war. They did not want their men to go forth to die. The students struck in all the schools. The general strike took the form of a great national picnic. The solidarity of labor, so evidenced, appealed to the imagination of all. And there was no danger to be incurred. When everybody was guilty, how was anybody to be punished?
The United States was paralyzed for a week, and during that week of silence, the oligarchy was taught its lesson, and well it learned the lesson. The general strike was a warning. It should never occur again. The oligarchy would see to that. At the end of the week, the socialist leaders of both countries presented their ultimatum to the rulers. The war was declared off, and the populations of both countries returned to their jobs.
This renewal of peace brought about the alliance between Germany and the United States. In reality, an alliance between the emperor and the oligarchy for the purpose of meeting their common foe, the revolutionary proletariat of both countries.
Act 4, the rise of the Iron Heel.
Congratulate you, O'Connor. As president of the Machinists Association, you did a great job organizing during the strike. You saw what a general strike would do. We stopped the war with Germany. Never was there so fine a display of the solidarity and the power of labor. Labor can and will rule the world. If your union continues to stand with us, we'll put an end to the reign of capitalism. It is your only hope. No matter what you do under your old tactics, you are doomed to defeat, if for no other reason than because the masters control the courts.
You run ahead too fast. We're sick of strikes. They got us beaten that way to a frazzle. But there's another way out.
There's nothing to be afraid of, or ashamed of, I hope.
I guess we know our business best.
It's a dark business by the way you hide it.
We paid for our experience in sweat and blood, and we've earned all that's coming to us. Charity begins at home.
You're going in for grab sharing. You've made terms with the enemy. That's what you've done. You've sold out the cause of labor and are leaving the battlefield like cowards.
I guess we know what's best for us a little bit better than you do.
And you don't care a cent for what is best for the rest of labor. You kick it into the ditch.
I'm not saying anything except I'm president of the union, and it's my business to consider the interests of the men I represent. That's all.
That settles it. The Iron Heel is won. The socialists used to foretell with joy the coming of the day when organized labor, defeated on the industrial field, would come over onto the political field. Well, the Iron Heel has defeated the labor unions on the industrial field and driven them over to the political field. And instead of this being joyful for us, it will be a source of grief. We showed the oligarchy our power in the general strike, and it has taken steps to prevent another one.
But how?
Simply by subsidizing the greater unions. They won't join in the next general strike. Therefore, it won't be a general strike.
But the Iron Heel can't maintain so costly a program forever.
Oh, it hasn't subsidized all of the unions. That's not necessary. Wages are going to be advanced and hours shortened in the railroad unions, the iron and steel workers unions, and the engineer and machinist unions. Membership of these unions will become like seats in paradise.
And while all the world was torn with conflict, we of the United States were not placid and peaceful. The defection of the great unions had prevented our proletarian revolt, but violence was everywhere. A religious revival had blazed up, proclaiming the end of the world. It was a time of madness, and through it all, with a serenity and certitude that was terrifying, continued to rise the form of that monster of the ages, the oligarchy. With iron hand and iron heel, it mastered the surging millions. Out of confusion brought order. Out of the very chaos wrought its own foundation and structure. Ernest, the millions of the discontented and the impoverished are ours. The farmers, the middle class, and the laborers have come over to us. The capitalist system will fall to pieces. In another month, we send 50 men to Congress. 2 years hence, every office will be ours, from the president down to the local dog catcher.
How many rifles have you got? Do you know where you can get plenty of lead?
trouble arose first with the Farmers' Party in the various states they had captured at the last election. These farmers who had been elected were not permitted to take office. The incumbents refused to get out. They charged illegality in the elections and wrapped up the whole situation in the interminable red tape of the law. The courts were in the hands of our enemies. The oligarchy wanted violence, and it set its agents provocateurs to work. They caused the peasant revolt, in which the expropriated farmers took forcible possession of the state governments. Of course, this was unconstitutional, and of course, the United States put its soldiers into the field.
Everywhere the agents provocateurs urged the people on. These emissaries of the Iron Heel disguised themselves as artisans, farmers, and farm laborers. They fired and looted buildings and factories. They worked the people up until the people joined them in the pillage, and then, when all was ready, there appeared upon the scene the soldiers of the United States, the soldiers of the Iron Heel. 11,000 men, women, and children were shot down in the streets. The national government took possession of state governments.
The Iron Heel had triumphed in open warfare, but we held our own in the new warfare, strange and awful and subterranean. All was unseen, much was unguessed, and yet through it all was order, purpose, control. We permeated the entire organization of the Iron Heel with our agents, while our organization was permeated with their agents. It was warfare dark and devious, replete with intrigue and conspiracy, plot and counterplot, and behind all, ever menacing, was death, violent and terrible. Men and women disappeared, our nearest and dearest comrades. We saw them today. Tomorrow they were gone. We never saw them again, and we knew that they had died.
Act 5, the Chicago Commune.
We became spies within the oligarchy's secret service, ostensibly serving the Iron Heel, and secretly working with all our might for the cause. We had planned to strike our first blow at the nervous system of the oligarchy. I am to meet Mason, an officer of the Secret Service. He thinks I am one of his cohorts.
We have detected a grand plot against our homeland. All over the land, insurgents are to go forth and blow up the wireless stations, the bridges and tunnels, and disrupt the whole network of railroads. Other groups of rebels are to seize the officers of the mercenaries and the police, as well as all oligarchs in executive positions. Inside the mercenaries are thousands of traitors. Their work is to blow up the magazines and destroy the delicate mechanism of all the war machinery. In the city, similar programs of disruption are to be carried out. In short, a sudden, colossal, stunning blow was to be struck by the Turks. But we got wind of the revolt and are prepared to teach them a bloody lesson, Chicago is the city selected for the instruction. Promises and agreements with the laborers have been broken, and most drastic punishments visited even upon petty offenses.
Won't that encourage the populace to join the revolt?
We have the matter in hand. Your orders are to observe and report on our counterinsurgency tactics in Chicago.
Yes, sir. Ernest, the oligarchy has discovered our plans for revolt.
I know. I got the word and I've already passed it along. Everything shall be done elsewhere to keep the comrades quiet. Chicago is to be sacrificed, but it shall be Chicago alone.
It's going to be hell.
Keep a stout heart. What if the first revolt is lost? There will be a second, and we will be wiser then. Look, up there, mercenaries in one building, revolutionists in the other, trading gunfire.
And bombs! But who can say which is which? Who has the upper hand? Look there! Look there! Our brave comrades are coming!
They're not our comrades.
It was an awful river that filled the street. The people of the abyss, mad with drink and wrong, up at last and roaring for the blood of their masters. Waves of wrath, snarling and growling, carnivorous, drunk with hatred, drunk with lust for blood. Men, women, and children, in rags and tatters, with all the godlike blotted from their features, and all the fiend-like stamped in. Anemic consumptives and great hairy beasts of burden, wan faces from which vampire society had sucked the juice of life, bloated forms,